All right. Good evening, everybody. This is our last Chalk Talks of the season, and with a very special guest, surprise guest, Katelyn Pavey and Eric Pavey, which is awesome. I know Paul Temple reached out to you, a few weeks ago, and then I followed up. But yeah, it was great that you were both available and willing to do this. And I know our girls really enjoy talking to both of you.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
So
we're excited.
yep. So I'm gonna do like just a brief introduction. Probably won't do you enough justice, but I think you'll get the gist of it, everybody, as we continue to go through this. Again, our Chalk Talks are meant for an opportunity for our players to engage and talk to guests and learn about their softball journey. And I think this is everybody has a unique story, but I think this is a very inspirational story. And if you haven't seen the movie I Can, I encourage you to do that. I know we took a couple of our teams last year. But yeah, take a look at the movie. We'll be talking about some of the items like from the movie today, and just about Katelyn's softball journey in general. Eric, he was a former head coach. We were just talking about this for Lanesville Lady Eagles softball. But you coached, like you were just mentioning, you coached multiple sports: football, golf, basketball, and you finally hung up the whistle after 30 years of service, which is pretty cool. You have three daughters, correct?
Dude, yep.
Yeah. How old's your youngest daughter?
21. She graduates with her accounting degree this May.
Wow. Time flies with your kids, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, my youngest is 18 now, so that's just hard for me to fathom.
Yeah, and she's getting married in August, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
and she gets married in August. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, not ready for that.
Be too down.
You're also, are you still a private hitting instructor?
No, I stopped that. I stopped that about a year and a half ago. Yeah. So when I got done coaching after 30 years, believe it or not, I went into the other side and the dark side, I guess you would call it. And I started umpiring and refereeing basketball games and softball games. So the same coaches I was playing against, I started umpiring the high school games around the Southern Indiana area. But then I was still giving lessons up to about a year ago. But somebody just asked me again on Sunday, so I think I'm coming out of retirement, and this little girl at church, I'm gonna start giving her some hitting lessons.
Yep, you must like punishment to be a umpire and referee. Sometimes it's pretty, I don't know, a lot of pressure.
It is.
And are you still teaching at the school?
Yeah, this is my last year. So I'm going to retire this year and go into my marketing company full time. So, and then do the ICANN Foundation, which we'll talk about later.
Awesome. And then I think one of the cool aspects of this is that you were able to coach Katelyn for so long. I don't know, did you coach your other daughters as well, or do they not play?
So my middle daughter did travel cheerleading and gymnastics, which if you know me, I am probably the farthest thing from the knowledgeable person of that. So basically, I just funded the lessons and funded going to go see her do those things. And then my youngest daughter played basketball. So I did get to coach my youngest in basketball and varsity, but I did not coach any type of cheerleading or gymnastics. So, but no.
Yep. So very active kids family overall. So
Yeah.
On your toes. Yeah, I think it's really cool that you got to coach, Katelyn in softball. I think it's a great opportunity for, parents to get involved and get engaged with their kids. And yeah, it's pretty neat. And then Katelyn, I can't say enough. Obviously you've done many amazing things, but in the softball arena, it is true that in God all things are possible. And I think just your story and making it and getting what was it like, even there's never been an athlete, an all-state player in the state of Indiana that had limb difference. And I thought that was really wild that across the board, all sports. And then you got an NCAA scholarship, many of your goals you met, and you signed with Cincinnati Christian University in 2017, and it looks like the first season you had almost a 400 batting average, which is, you know, pretty phenomenal coming right out of high school and jumping into the game in college. And you know, and then career wise, it looked like your batting average was about 350 overall. So I mean, you had a very successful career playing in college. And then you went on to play at Kentucky Christian University, a little closer to home.
Yep.
And now you're working with NFCA.
I am. Yep.
Yep, which is pretty cool.
So
So
we forgot college in the middle there.
So yeah. I did attend Midway University in Midway, Kentucky.
Okay.
So my first school, Cincinnati Christian, ended up shutting down. So I did go to Midway for a year. That was during COVID. And then I went to Kentucky Christian after my coach from Cincinnati went to KCU.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool that you were able to follow your coach and, you know, continue to play with him.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna open this up and kind of run through our questions, and it'll be a little bit more of you guys talking than me, and we'll just go item by item. And I also thought that, you know, one of the storylines in the movie, you know, God doesn't make any mistakes, you know, and I think that that's, you know, absolutely true. And, you know, you don't hear that enough, you know, that there's a purpose and there's something to learn from and an opportunity to, you know, turn to God and ask for his help. But Katelyn, can you go ahead and explain to us what's a little different about you?
Well, my dad might say I have a big head or I have red hair. No. So I was born with something called phocomelia, just meaning when I was formed in the womb, my arm didn't fully develop, and it left me with this small hand and 2 digits. I call it my little arm. So.
Lost you.
I think we lost Scott.
Nope, not here. I just had a slight emergency. One of my dogs is whining here, so I'm trying to get him out of the room. So both Katelyn and Eric, how did the movie I Can come about? And I guess, you know, from reading an article earlier today, I didn't realize that the name of the movie actually changed, that it was pitched as I Can't, and then it changed to I Can. Can you talk to us a little bit about that experience?
You want to start?
I'll start about how the movie changed its name to I Can. So growing up, I was always told to never say I can't. I never say you can't, I can't do something. So I changed can't into continue adapting, never turning back. So you continue to adapt to any obstacle thrown your way. All of us, in some point of our lives, are going to face adversity. And what we do with that adversity is how, one, either you're going to fail or you're going to be successful. And I'm here to tell you it's okay to fail. You learn from your mistakes. So what I did was I changed from continue adapting. You adapt to all those adversities, all those obstacles that was thrown your way, and you don't go back to your old ways. You keep finding ways to improve and to get better, and that's how you become successful. So,
So then the way the movie got started, so it was about 8 years ago. I was leading a group of youth up to Michigan, of all places, and we were doing a CIY move up there, and we were stuck in traffic in Michigan. I know there's no traffic in Michigan, but we were stuck in traffic in Michigan, and I was in a church van with a big trailer on the back, and in the passenger seat was a young about 24, 25-year-old guy. He was our one of our pastors at church. He has tattoos up and down his arms. He's got his hat turned around backwards, and he just looks at me and he goes, "So tell me your story." And I was like, "Who is this young punk wanting me to tell him, you know, my testimony and my story?" So, you know, we're sitting in traffic, and I tell him my testimony. Well, that young punk who's 25, he's now our lead pastor at our church, and he had a passion when he was younger. His name's Tyler Sansom. He had a passion when he was younger, and he actually went to school to learn how to make movies. So our church did a movie called A Father's Fight, and it did pretty well. It did okay. And they found it was just a different way to reach the lost or reach different people was through the medium of film. And then so he said, "Man, Eric, I love your story." And he came over to my house because we lived next to each other. He says, "Hey, we want to do a movie about your family and your story." And
Fun fact, Tyler actually went to Kentucky Christian as well.
Yeah.
And that's where he got his degree. He was from West Virginia.
He never got his degree. Yeah.
He was from West Virginia, played football, and had the passion for making movies. So it's pretty cool that we both went to the same college. And then the reason why it's not called Can't is because he's like, that's just a bad name to name a movie. Like, nobody's going to watch a movie called I Can't.
Yeah. So he asked us, and 3 times we turned him down, my wife and I, because if you've seen the movie, you probably would understand that having some things on the big screen come out that, you know, we haven't told at that point. Up until then, we never told our kids about our story and what happened to my wife and I in the past. So first we had to talk to the kids and to them about it and make sure they're okay with it. And then he came to talk to Katelyn.
Yeah. So he asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to have a movie made about you?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Why?" He's like, "If you can inspire one person, or if you can help lead one person to Christ, would you do it?" And I denied Tyler 3 times before he asked me that question. And I just didn't think that I had a story to share. I never liked the spotlight on myself. I never wanted to be seen as sitting on a pedestal. And he just kept asking me that question, like, if you can help one person, or if you can inspire one person, would you do it? And I can't say no to that. So that's how we ended up making the movie. Just for that one simple question, like, could you help somebody? And we did.
Yeah, that was the one question he asked us as well. If you could help one person find and follow Jesus, would you do it? And the fun fact of the movie was the young lady that played one of my daughters in the movie got to be around a bunch of Christian individuals while we were making the movie. And when the movie was finished, she ended up getting baptized.
It is really cool.
Praise God.
Yep, go God.
All right, Katelyn. So what softball goals did you have, in grade school and high school, and kind of like, how did you had a board that you wrote your goals on a board, and I think that's fantastic. And we've been talking to our girls about, like, just creating a goal list, put down all the big goals that you have, and just visually you can see it all the time. And so what kind of goals did you have, and how did that help you?
Yeah, so it started when I was 10, and I was playing travel ball, and I told my dad, I want to play college softball. And that was a goal of mine. He said, well, at 10 years old, I have friends, I want to do things. He goes, but if you want to make it to that next level, you're going to have to sacrifice things. You're going to have to sacrifice hanging out with your friends, going to those birthday parties, doing the things you want to do if you want to get to that level. So that was one of my goals at the early age of 10. Now for my goal board, going through travel ball up to high school, I wanted to hit my very first home run, because up to that point, I haven't. I wanted to be an all-conference player. I wanted to be an all-state player. And I wanted to sign a college scholarship to play softball somewhere.
Oh, that's really cool. And you achieved pretty much all of your goals, didn't you, on your board?
Yeah. So my senior year of high school, I hit my very first home run, and my dad and my grandpa were there to see it. So you're talking about how my dad was my coach out throughout my years, but also my grandpa. So having 3 generations on one field was really special to me. So I got to hit my very first home run.
Wait a minute. And then after she hit that home run, the very next time up to the plate, she hit one off the center field fence at the very top, and it came back in instead of going out. So she could have had her first back-to-back home run, but didn't happen.
So I hit the home run. I was not only MVP of my conference, but I was MVP of the conference. I hit my very first home run. I was an first team all-state player in the state of Indiana. I was the only male or female from my high school to be an all-state player and go to play in the all-state games. And I signed a full ride scholarship to play college softball.
It's phenomenal. It's amazing. And I'm glad that you're able to share that story, with the movie, and even talking to the girls about that today, because anything's possible. Just never doubt yourself. Don't let obstacles and adversity, push you away from something that you're trying to, to reach, climb over those obstacles, go around them, but don't stop. And too often a lot of kids do. So it's good to hear from others, at any sport or whatever, how they have reached those goals and how they've been successful.
Yeah, and she has several stories that she could tell, and we'd be here all night long on a number of times she's overcame something. But one of the ones she usually tells is being asked to leave a travel ball team at the age of 12 because she was playing over top of other players, and the coach didn't like the drama on the team. And I wasn't coaching the team at the time. We got called to her house, and she asked us to leave the team because there was too much drama with all the parents saying, "How's a one-armed girl playing over their daughter?" And, instead of, quitting or, digressing, Katelyn took that upon herself to just put that as fuel to the fire to try to work harder and make herself better. So she would definitely make sure she's in the lineup and ready to play and can show what she could do. And, where I, as a coach, kind of thought, okay, she's got it, was about her junior year in high school. Was early. She played basketball too. And that was just to keep in shape. She's actually the only one-armed athlete or limb different athlete to hit a game-winning shot at sectional too. She had a game-winning shot for sectional. But anyways, she just did that to stay in shape. And if I usually get up about 5:30 in the morning, I'm ex-military, and I'm sitting there drinking my cup of coffee, and I hear feet, footsteps behind me. And I look, and it's her. And I said, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Well, I got to go outside and set up the bow net." Now, mind you, this is October, November timeframe. It's cold in southern Indiana. Not probably as cold as Michigan, but it's cold outside. She sets up the bow net. I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, I got to get my swings in because I got basketball practice after school and I got homework. I'm not going to be able to swing and get my hits in." So here she is. And that's when I knew she had it, like, for herself. Well, she's willing to sacrifice time to go out and get some swings in off of a tee in the middle of October, November timeframe in the 30-degree weather outside because she had that dedication. So that's where, others can see a one-armed girl playing. You see that all the time. We'd be playing travel ball tournaments or other places, and everybody would come to the fence and be like, "Oh my gosh, look at this one-armed girl play." But then you go, "Oh my gosh, that one-armed girl can play." And it wasn't what they saw in the field. What they missed was all the hours behind the scenes, setting up the bow net, hitting in the bow net, doing tee work, doing drills, doing footwork drills, doing the things that made her successful on the field is what I'm most proud of for her, more than just what the accolades she had on the field.
No, yeah, absolutely. Doing it on your own and wanting it, loving the work. So Katelyn, being a star center fielder, I know that you were a captain of the team as well, and you probably captained more than just one time in your lifetime. But what does it mean to be a leader on the team? Like, how do you lead? Because a lot of times our younger players are trying to learn that, and they think it's, my teammate messed up, I'm gonna yell at him and hold him accountable, and then turn back around and then I'm gonna play. But that's not leadership. You're not building your teammates up. You're not being constructive. Can you talk about what it means to you?
Yep. So there's different types of leaders. There's leaders that can lead by example. There's vocal leaders. I consider myself a lead by example leader. And what I mean is, I let my playing do the talk. But also what it means to be a leader is to be selfless. You're not selfish. When you're on a team, you're playing as a team. You're not. It's not. Softball is not an individual sport. And to be a good leader, to be a good teammate, you encourage your teammates. For example, what I did, high fives are contagious. Lots of energy is contagious. If one person's in a bad mood, it's going to set the whole tone for everybody else. You need to have the uplifting energy. If someone's struggling with a drill, you go over there and you help them. Or say, like, for conditioning, if I knew one of my teammates was struggling with finishing their running test, I would go and finish running with them. You always want to try to push to make your teammates better, and you always want to try to help them, because in the end, when you're playing a game, you're all working together for one end goal. If that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. No, that's great example. Can you talk a little bit about how you do a ball transfer
Yeah.
and show the
Um,
girls?
Yeah, so I have what's called a glove transfer. So instead of having my glove on one hand and throwing with the other, I catch and throw with the same hand. So I have my glove on my right hand. When I catch the ball, I tuck it under my small arm, get my hand out, grab the ball, and throw. Now, when I do this quicker, I'm 0.2 seconds slower than somebody with two arms. So that's just how I eventually developed into this glove transfer. But when I was younger, what I would do is I would catch the ball, throw my glove on the ground, step on it, pick it up, and throw it. And my dad's like, like that's way too slow to play any competitive softball. So it just took time in the backyard, time practicing, like my dad said, to develop that glove transfer to where I could end up playing competitively.
And there's other things people don't understand, like with having one arm playing ball, her glove. So it took me about an hour to work on her glove in the mouth of the glove to widen it enough to make sure she'd get her fingers to where they need to be to get in and out of the glove fast enough. I reached out to every glove manufacturer. Not one glove manufacturer would make a glove for us, and I would be willing to pay for it. So every glove that she had over the years, we've had to manipulate and make sure that she was able to get her hand in and out there fast enough to make the plays on the field, to make her, more successful, or to help her teammates. So just that little bit of overcoming that, your equipment, people don't realize just some of the things that you have to overcome on a daily basis, and people take some of that for granted too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Wouldn't have even thought of that. So, and being the first at so many things, I'm sure, it's kind of cool when you have developed that, you've practiced it and honed it all in, and then people see you do it and it's like, oh man, she's awesome, but they just don't understand all that effort that went into it. That's
Yeah,
how
when
about
when she says years, we're talking, to get to that point, it was maybe like a 6-year commitment, to get to where she's as fast as she is now. It wasn't a
overnight thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out in the backyard and I'm gonna work for 30 minutes and tell mommy and daddy that I did really well and come back in. It was a 6-year process to get that glove transfer down, and for us to be able to get that glove where she needed it. So yeah, it's just a process that there was no YouTube for us back then to be able to learn how to play. There's only been 2 people that you can really count on that's been a one-arm ball player. One was Pete Gray. He was back in the early days, back in the 30s, and he played right field and he only played semi-pro ball and really didn't do very well. And then, of course, everybody knows Jim Abbott, who is a phenomenal pitcher, for the Yankees, pitching, the no-hitter. But there's nobody you can think of with one arm that is a position player that succeeded. And again, I'm not trying to tout Katelyn. I'm just saying how hard it was for us to, for her to be able to overcome this, and also to find someone she could look up to. There was no one, nothing against Jim Abbott, but he's a pitcher. That's a position. That's not a position player. He's throwing a ball off of a mound. So picture, playing center field or shortstop or catcher with one arm, and you have nobody that you can look on YouTube about, or you have nobody that you can look after to see how to play like that. We were just kind of inventing everything, like you were saying, Scott. At first, everything for us was a first because we couldn't find anybody that could help us out.
Yeah. How about hitting? I mean, you were a great hitter, and I mean, you're doing it. It looks like just with pretty much primarily one arm, swinging through on that, and I mean, that's just you hear so many kids.
Well,
You hear so many kids say that I can't, just like what you're saying, with Kate, I can't do it, and it's like, and they've got 2 hands. So I think it's really.
Yeah. Well, when I was little, I was actually a righty, and I switched hit actually. But from the right side, I always found myself dropping very badly, just because I was obviously uneven. So the weight was just heavy on my right side. So I was always under the ball, barely hitting it or not hitting it at all.
And back control, the bat head kept, going down in the zone, and we kept seeing that. And there's got to be, a better way. And we even adapted, had pictures. We had adapted electrical tape with some sponge to try to help her little hand. It was some fun.
And I never really had any power either that way. I had zero power. Then I switched to the left side, and found that I had way more bat control with this arm. And then I came through the ball quicker, so I had quicker bat speed and I had power. So I stayed on the left side, and then when I eventually got old enough, I learned how to slap hit because I wanted to be a triple threat. I wanted to be able to do the bunts, slap, and hit for power, just because I thought that would give me a better chance of getting recruited, a better chance of getting into college.
Yeah, and then again, just like you said, Scott, I think so many kids don't do it enough. T work. As a coach for 30 years, how many times did I ever use a pitch machine in practice? Zero. I don't believe in pitch machines for practice because you groove a swing. And for her, it was just a lot of T work and a lot of front toss, but mainly T work. When I say she was out there in the bow net, she's working on the mechanics on how to get to the ball quicker and how to get that front arm. And, that's, when we were on Major League Baseball Network with Harold Reynolds, he said the same thing. He said a lot of people don't understand how the pros, they lean down and they get a home run when they, get one off the ground low, and it's that front arm. That's what she's doing. She's kind of got a forearm, kind of forehand swing, kind of like a backhand of tennis, basically, is how you kind of look at it. But she can control the bat like that. And then you mentioned her statistics. I'm not a big stats guy. I actually think I think her stats are a little higher than what you said but here's the thing I want, people to realize. And again, I'm not a stats guy, but just realize the amount of work she put in. She played college softball for 6 years. So when she left Cincinnati, she changed her knee her first year in college, didn't get to play her first year in college. And then she goes on to the second year in college where she batted 400 and got all conference at Cincinnati Christian. School closed down, goes to Midway, having the best stats that she could ever have. COVID shuts her down, and she goes to Kentucky Christian. So this is 6 years of softball. She averaged that, and at a leadoff batter's position, she was a leadoff batter. So I only say that because that came from the number of hours she spent outside during basketball season and outside on her own, hitting and doing those T work drills since she was like, 10, 8, 9, 10 years old, all the way up until, literally she stopped doing it like last year.
Yeah, just the amount of hours. That's just insane. And obviously, statistically, yeah, you did phenomenal, So then, anybody that watched the movie, and I think you played the softball parts, correct, in the movie?
I did.
Yeah.
So anytime you see the softball action, that's me doing it. And I did have an actress play all the other scenes of talking. It's kind of a funny story. I was cut. I did not make myself. I had an audition and they said I wasn't good enough. So I had an actress play me.
Yeah. And Eric, you were in the movie too.
Yeah. So I was the opposing coach to myself, which I thought pretty interesting.
Yep. And then, in the movie, you were recruited from being at a softball tournament. Was that true?
I was at a softball camp.
Okay.
Yep. So
yeah,
I had a teammate that I played travel ball with that signed a scholarship to play for Cincinnati Christian, and she told me, "Hey, my coach is coming to this camp," so I've been going to this camp ever since I was a 8th grader, and I just wanted to put myself out in front of college coaches, so I would go there every year, just to put myself out there and show coaches what I could do.
Cool. A lot of different, athletes get seen in a lot of different ways. It's just, I don't think one story is the same between anybody, but in that whole scenario, I think that's something that we really encourage our kids to do is like, if you're interested in schools, contact them, go to their camps, introduce yourself. That's the best way to develop a relationship. And too many times there's these big national, I call them big box organizations, and they travel out to Colorado, Florida, but the kids never intend to play out of state. You're spending a lot of money traveling around and being seen by people that they're not the teams or the coaches that you want to play for. So I think it's a really important thing to keep in mind. developing those relationships. And I think that's one of the best ways
Right.
to do it.
One of the best pieces of advice, and I hear this from college coaches all the time because I'm involved in NFCA as well. Write a handwritten letter to the coaches. Follow their team and write them a handwritten letter. Too many times, these coaches have people pay for these services that email their their bios and their videos to these coaches, and that's great. I mean, it may work. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. But I've heard every coach say they will take the time to open up a letter and respond to the letter, whether it's good or bad. They're going to read the letter. So you have a letter. Hey, coach, just want to let you know that I've been following your season. I think that win you had against Michigan State, and maybe you're in Central Michigan. Hey, that win you had against Michigan State, I was there at that game. I thought it was really cool how everybody interacted with each other, and I can't wait to follow season. Can you tell me a little bit more, when your camp is? And I'm very interested in becoming, part of this organization. And they will answer that letter for you.
Yeah. That way it's a unique letter.
Yeah.
It's not one of those, whatever you want, canned responses or canned emails that they send out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good suggestion. Katelyn, can you tell us a little bit about the injury that you sustained in high school and, just overcoming that adversity and getting back to the game?
So in the movie, we set the scene in high school, just to flow with how the movie was being told. But my injury actually happened my freshman year of college. So get to college, got to meet the team, started practicing all fall, doing really well. And it was a scrimmage game right before my actual collegiate game that I was going to play. Coach came up to me and a few other freshmen and was like, hey, you've been working really hard, doing really well. I think you guys deserve your first at-bat. So I get up there and I slap it right to the shortstop. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to beat the ball. So everything I do is 100%, no matter practice, game. The way you practice is the way you're going to play. So I'm just trying to beat the ball. Running down first base, get to first. I kind of do like a little lunge. My left leg lands on top of the bag, but my body goes forward. I hit the ground, and all I heard was pop, pop, pop. And in that moment, like I knew something was bad, but I didn't want to believe it. And I got up, and the first thing I told my coach was like, "Man, that was a bad hit. Can I have another try?" And he said, "Well, if you can walk from here to home, you can." I took one step, and I hit the ground again. I ended up tearing my ACL, my meniscus, and I sprained all the ligaments around my knee. So I basically blew out my knee, and I had to take a redshirt year that year. I wasn't able to play softball my freshman year, and that was really tough for me because it was just like, why me? I worked so hard to get to this point, and now like everything's getting taken away. I really thought softball was my identity. I thought that's the only thing that I had, and it really made me like lose sight of God and lose sight of my path that I was on. And it was just a very, very tough time for me. So I just had a really bad time with that knee injury.
So through that process, you learned to trust God's plan for you.
I did. Yeah,
like a
little depression.
Yeah, I went. I'm not gonna like hide it or whatever. I went into a depression. I did not want to come out of my dorm room. I did not want to interact with anybody. Going to practice, I just dreaded going to practice because I was just sitting on the sidelines and just watching everybody do everything. And the only thing that got me through it was, my grandma. So you'll see in the movie, I was really close to my grandma. She was basically my second mom, helped raise me and everything. And she struggled with health issues all of her life. And she was going through dialysis, and she had a kidney transplant. So she was struggling. And she told me, God doesn't make mistakes, and God has a plan, and he has a purpose for everything. And you just got to trust that. And just watching her through all of her struggles, staying strong and persevering through everything, I was like, if she can do it, I mean, so can I. And I learned to trust in God. I learned to trust that he did have a plan for me. Even though I didn't know at the moment what that was, I had a trust in him that he's going to get me through this, and I'm going to see what his plan was all along after this injury. The doctor told me it was going to be a 9-month recovery for what I did. And I looked at him and I was like, I love the game so much, and I'm going to push harder than anybody else. I'm going to get back in 5. And he said, there's no way with what you did to your knee. There's no way. I came back and I got cleared in 3.5 months to come back and play softball because I pushed myself and I wanted to be back on the field with my teammates as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
And a couple of things, just a couple extra things to that story. So when you say, God doesn't make mistakes. So she was at Cincinnati Christian. She gets a redshirt year. She goes to Midway, and she gets a COVID year because of COVID. And then she goes to Kentucky Christian, and the year she goes there is her All-American year. But because she blew out her knee, and that was God's plan, and because she went to Midway and she got a COVID year, they actually paid for her to get her master's degree, and she graduated with her master's degree, and she was able to play 2 extra years of softball because of those 2 years, which looking back, she never would have thought that she would have had those years to be able to play the game that she loved. But again, God has, things worked out a lot better than we do. And then last thing I want to mention would be when she did blow out her knee in that scrimmage game, a lot of her teammates came up to her and said, if you didn't try so hard, if you didn't try 100%, you wouldn't have blown out your knee. I would have just jogged it out, took the out, and then you would have been able to play. And for me, as she said, and she's always been that way her whole life, and we've taught her that, just do everything 100%. That paid off for her because by her blowing out her knee, it gave her that extra year of growth to be able to overcome more and to be able to get closer to God. And I thank God for her injury because of those things. So when you hear people say, if I didn't try so hard, or if you didn't hustle so much, don't listen to that, but listen to the person inside of you saying, I need not to cheat myself and to do better.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that. Yeah, I think your story, and especially this portion of it, I'm really big on mental health awareness for athletes. And too often, high school, college, they isolate themselves. There is depression, there's anxiety. God, they're juggling so much with their schedules and their workload, and sometimes they don't reach out when they're struggling or having problems. So I'm glad your family knew, what was going on and was engaged with you and able to, be a part of that process to come out of it.
I never wanted, not just having one arm, but with anything in life, I never wanted to ask for help. Like I always wanted to figure it out myself and thinking that I was able to do it myself, but it is okay to ask for help. If you are struggling, ask for help.
Yep. So this I'm going to kind of hop around a little bit because if we run out of time, I might skip a couple of the questions that I gave you, but I think one that kind of follows suit with this is, I really love your quote. The only disability is a bad attitude. And you saying that, I think it really hits home with a lot of kids, and they need to understand what that means. And can you kind of share what your thought process is behind that?
Yeah. So the only disability in life is a bad attitude. You see me, there's physical disabilities you see. There's people that have disabilities that you can't see. But like Scott mentioned, I just think it's all a mindset. You are what you tell yourself you're going to be. If you believe that you can do something, you're going to do it. But if you tell yourself, well, I can't do this, or you degrade yourself, or you just say, man, I'm not good enough, that's what you're going to become. You're only as good as what you tell yourself. And yeah, you can't teach effort. You can't teach passion. You can't teach love for the game. I just think that specifically in softball, coaches can teach kids how to become athletes. They can teach kids how to play softball, but you can't teach that effort, that grit, that love for the game that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think we need to open it up for questions here in just a few minutes, but can you guys both kind of share with us what is the I Can Foundation? Because I know this is something that's relatively new, and we'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, so it's something I decided to start, and I asked Katelyn if we could do it. She's going to do it with me. And it's already got our 501c3 status. We've just got it back after 3.5 weeks, which is kind of crazy for it to be accepted. But anyways, after the movie, I just wanted to find a way to keep helping people and keep people finding and following Jesus. And there's a gentleman named Zach, and he had a team down in Tennessee, and they wanted to come see the movie, and they were underprivileged youth. So we paid for the tickets for them to go see the movie. And after the movie, he filmed them, and you know, all the kids said what they, you know, kind of took from the movie, and it was really cool. And one of the young girls said something, and we got a call from Zach about a month later, and that young lady's mother had died of a heart attack suddenly. So this kid is now, you know, doesn't have a mother, and she was a single mom. And I'm like, man, you know, what can we do? And Scott said, or Zach said, we're going to do can we do an ICANN softball tournament for Shelby and raise money? And we said, absolutely. Use the name. Here's all the stuff. We went, you know, we tried to go down there and we helped him out with everything he needed. We promoted it. We did everything we could. And they raised money for this young lady. And Zach's just a wonderful Christian man. He just had a baby during this time. It was his fifth little baby. And he was working, and he was up in a lift, and he fell out of the lift, and he hit concrete floor, and his head hit a concrete floor, and he had a brain bleed. And I get a call, and Zach had died. And I'm sitting there going, man. So they contacted me, and they asked, could we do an ICANN softball tournament for Zach and his family to raise money for funeral expenses and raise money for their kids, you know, for scholarships and stuff. And I was like, absolutely. What do you need? What can we do for you? So I often pray in the car as I do sometimes. And I was praying, and I was like, what can we do, you know, to help this family? And it just hit me. I'm like, why can't we start an ICANN foundation? And from that ICANN foundation, we help out people. And we changed the acronym for CAN to camps. So we're going to be able to do camps for kids with limb differences, kids that are underprivileged, kids that have mental or physical disabilities. We're going to be able to help those individuals. And we're able to come to camps like you're all in July, and we're able to do things like that to help spread the word. So we're able to do that. The A is going to be academics. So I do jail ministry. So we already have a personal finance curriculum lined up that we're going to some of these halfway houses, and we're doing academics for personal finance. We have tutors lined up right now that are going to be doing tutoring for disadvantaged youth that don't live in very good neighborhoods. So after school, they're going to be able to get the tutoring that they need. And then also Zach's widow and his kids. And then also we've picked one more. We're going to raise money, and they're going to have another tournament for Zach down there. But this time they're going to raise money for a scholarship to be able to give away Zach's name from the academics piece. And then the last one is the N for CAN, and that's for needs. And that's just what it says. If someone comes to us and says, hey, can I get, you know, I need a pair of cleats because I can't afford cleats to participate in this sport or participate in whatever, then we're able to provide whatever they need. And our tagline for the ICANN Foundation is turning obstacles into opportunities. And whatever obstacle you have, there's always an opportunity. Just like through Katelyn's life story, whenever she hit adversity, she's overcame that obstacle with other opportunities. And we're going to bless those individuals with opportunities for any obstacle that comes in their way, comes in their life. So we just got the 501c3 status. You're all the first to kind of even hear about this. We just now got the board of directors set down and set. I've got an ex-Major League Baseball pitcher on the board. I've got the first African-American coach in NCAA history on the board. I've got a Super Bowl champion individual on the board. So we've got some very influential individuals I think is going to make this a really good foundation to help a lot of people and youth around the nation to turn the obstacles into opportunities.
So what do you think, Katelyn? I think it's you know, you personally is, you know, and obviously your experience, you're truly a blessing, and just what you've done is affecting and helping so many people, like through this foundation.
I never thought saying yes to Tyler would end up going this far, just from a girl playing softball. But you know, like I said, it was all part of God's plan, and I'm thankful that I learned to trust in Him, and I'm thankful for what He's provided. And I'm just hoping that we can still inspire others and lead others to Christ through this.
And one last thing. So what's really cool right now, Tyler, the director and our pastor, just now landed in Uganda. And we have a ministry that we support there called 316 Ministries. And they showed the movie I Can over there, and 3,200 people already got baptized. This is about 8-9 months ago. And he's there now, and he's doing 10 days of a mission trip over there. They're going to show the movie I Can again, and they're expecting around 6,000 people to see the movie. So I can't wait to see what the call to action is for those individuals over there.
Yeah, you have to let us know how that, how everything turns out and the results of that. And just like Eric mentioned a few minutes ago, for everybody that is on the call, that the Paveys are going to be returning and coming back up to Lansing on July 17th and participating in our Hang Tough Future Stars summer softball clinic. And we get a lot of kids out for that, ages 8 to 18. And again, it's been a great experience. It continues to grow every year, and we do it with minimal cost to families, and just trying to help as many people, just achieve their goals, get exposure, be inspired to play softball. So, and then also we're gonna, here in just a second, we're gonna switch over and let the girls ask some questions. But one of the things that we're going to do tonight, we've been giving away a gift, like a random raffle, and we do it based on just pulling a random number, based on the number of participants, and wherever you're at in the participant chat line, then we give a prize. And in the past, it's been a gift card, I think, or a Grinch Christmas set at Christmas time, and mental toughness books. But we're gonna buy, Hang Tough's gonna buy a I Can shirt for the winner tonight, and that winner is, let's see,
Stacia Smith Temple.
Lily Schultz.
Hey, Lily.
You on, Lily?
Yes.
Okay. I'll follow up with you, and I'll get your shirt size, and we'll get you a shirt, an I Can shirt.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. All right. So if anybody has a question, just raise your hand in the chat, and then we'll go one by one. And again, just a reminder, please ask one question and then let somebody else ask a question. Don't get on and ask 5 questions in a row. It's happened. Everybody gets excited. All right, Stevie, you're first.
What was like a routine that you got, that you had when you like went in the batter's box?
What's routine for you?
What's the routine?
Yeah.
So my routine before I even stepped in the box was, well, I had to know how many outs there were. I had to look at the field and see where the players were playing, because that depended whether or not I was going to bunt, slap, or hit for power. So if the players were playing way in, I was definitely going to hit for power to try to hit over their head. But if they're playing back, maybe I could like lay a bunt down or make a soft slap just to get on first. So being a leadoff batter, my goal was to get on base. So any way that I could get on base, I would do that. So I would look at the field, and then I would look at my bat and take a deep breath. Taking a deep breath just calmed my body down, and it let me focus, just focus on what I needed to do. And I would step in with my left foot, then my right foot, and I'd be ready. And the only thing that I was thinking was see ball, hit ball.
That's what I've been trying to work on. But thank you for answering my question.
You're welcome.
Good question, Stevie. All right, should I skip Stacia or make her wait? Or all right, Stacia, go ahead. You're next.
Thank you. If we wanted to support your I Can t-shirt, I mean, is there somewhere we have a link that you can send to Scott that we can order as a club if any of our kids want to order them? Or
yeah, website's coming soon. When I say We were waiting to get our nonprofit status. So we just got our nonprofit status literally last week. So we're building the website now. When that happens, I'll be more than happy to share everything with Scott.
Appreciate that. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I think I sent Scott the logo. I don't know if you have the logo or not, Scott, or if you can bring it up on screen for him, but
I did. It's very cool.
Pretty cool looking logo.
Yep. Yeah, we posted that on our Facebook page so everybody could see it.
Yeah. Good to hear from you, Station.
You too, both.
All right. Chrislyn Cooper.
How did being asked to leave your travel ball team at such a young age, like, change your point of view about, like, a lot of things? And, like, anything?
Yeah. So being 10, 11 years old, all I really wanted, so I really never saw myself as having one arm. I just wanted to be like everybody else. And to finally have a coach play me and where I was starting, it just made me feel like, you know, I think I'm pretty good. Like I'm finally getting the hang of it. I'm finally playing. And then having her ask me to leave the team because someone else, you know, was complaining and didn't want me to be there just because my arm, it hurt my feelings a lot. It did. I was like, you know, it's kind of like when I had my knee injury. I was like, you know, why me? Like, what did I do? And like my dad said, like I got down, I was sad, but I didn't let it like overtake me. I used it to get better. Like he said, I used it, you know, I was like, well, if this person doesn't believe in me, I'm going to show them that I can. And I use that as fuel to get better. And at 10 or 11 years old, I still was just like, I was used to it, I guess, because I've always had kids. I've always had parents. It wasn't just kids. It was parents too. Always say things like, or stare at my arm or just because I was different. But I was always taught, you know, to turn the other cheek or to tell them, you know, God made me this way for a reason and just to believe in myself. So I did get down at first, yes, and I was sad at first, but I learned how to not let it affect my entire personality and who I was. I was trying to stay true to who I was.
And I just want to point out that that was an opportunity for the coach to have a teachable moment and teach the
Right.
parents and the kids the right path.
And it wasn't just like at that age. It happened all throughout. Whenever, even before I was playing in college, you know, like I said, I got recruited at that camp. I went to that camp from the 8th grade all the way up to my senior year, and I would be in front of hundreds of different college coaches every year, and I would always have them come up to me and say, "Man, you have great fundamentals. You're like the best I've seen with the fundamentals of softball. I'd love to have you on my team." But I mean, there was always a but, like, but I don't know how to coach a girl with one arm, or I don't know how my other players would react having a teammate with one arm. So it wasn't just the coach when I was 10 years old. It was also college coaches not giving me an opportunity to show them that I could play. And so it was always people having those negative thoughts before I could show them what I could do. And I just kept using that as fuel until the fire just burned and lit. And thank God I got an opportunity to be in front of the coach at the right time to where he saw my potential and he believed in me. And he looked past my arm, didn't even care if I had one arm. He said, "Man, if you can play ball, you can play ball." And that's why I wanted to go play for him, because he believed in me as a player and as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. And girls, you know, anytime that you're playing ball and you're not reaching your goal or you're not playing as well as you could play, the last thing you do is look for excuses. You know, it's an opportunity to look at yourself and push yourself. Hey, I need to put in more work. I need to get better. You know, there's something positive that you can do with yourself. You don't turn it into a negative and try to make excuses, because that's, at the end of the day, it's never going to pay off. It's that way in life in general too. Yeah, but it's terrible that you know, that's an obstacle and a hurdle that you dealt with, you know, your whole life. So, all right, Samantha.
You're on mute, Sam.
I'm sorry, the phone wasn't letting me unmute. Like, what was the thing that helped you like hit the ball further?
What helped me hit the ball further? Well, what I worked on a lot was point of contact and just making sure I got my bat head to the ball, and just working on bat speed, bat control is really what helped. A lot of people think that your power comes from your hips, just like swinging from your legs. But what my dad's taught me, and what I believe as well, is your power comes from the ground up, and you're using that as your power.
Okay.
And
Thank
I just,
you.
yeah, you're welcome.
You had more.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you're good. But let me understand kind of the physics of softball too, because you have girls that think they can swing heavy bats. You have girls that are bigger girls. You have girls that are small girls. You have all types of sizes of girls in softball, right? And you see these girls that hit the ball really far and like, oh my gosh, that's so great. You know, but I've never seen anybody that gets in the Hall of Fame or gets college softball scholarships by hitting 3 home runs but bats 120. You know what I'm saying? That's okay to hit a long ball, but it's okay to hit for power for certain reasons. But to answer your question, Sam, I think hitting the ball at an angle that gets backspin on that ball, that helps the ball carry further, is the key for more power, along with what Katelyn said with the technique and getting that off the tee work. For her, I always said, you know, get to the bottom half of the ball, right? Because if I get to the bottom half of the ball, I can create that backspin. It's just like when you throw the ball and you have backspin, the ball goes farther and on a straighter line. And that's just because aerodynamics and physics of the ball. So when I hit the ball with the bottom half, I'm actually elevating that ball to go up a little bit higher.
And once you get older, the speed of the pitch is going to be quicker. So you just allow that speed of the pitch to help you create that power. If you get to point of contact, that ball is going to go if you hit the bottom half.
Yeah, I don't know how old you are right now, but if I was your coach, and I've coached for many years, how old are you, Sam?
I'm 12.
Oh, Lord. If you hit a line drive to left center, right center is what you should be doing. Forget home runs, forget trying to hit the fence, forget you will run and make bad mechanics sometimes of trying to hit the ball farther. Hit line drives in the gaps, and then your power is going to come as you mature a little bit more, and maybe you start lifting a little bit more weights and you learn a little bit more of the physics. Once your body matures, you're going to hit the ball farther regardless, because you've worked on the technique since you were littler or since you were 12. If you get bad techniques when you're 12, by the time I've seen so many girls just try to, you know, lift that ball up and trying to hit the ball out and trying to hit the ball farther. Learn better technique and mechanics now when you're 12 and try to hit line shots and gappers in the right center, left center gap. And every once in a while you'll catch one and it'll go farther to the fence. But I think by the time you're like 15, 16, your body matures, you'll be hitting dingers, no problems, if you were hitting line drives at 12 in the gaps. That's just my personal opinion.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're muted, Scott.
I've got one more question for you tonight, and then we'll wrap things up here. What do you think about Hang Tough's Chalk Talks?
I think they're great. I think they're a great learning opportunity, especially with all the guests that you bring on. Everybody's going to have different philosophies, different stories. Just growing up through the sport of softball, and I think I'm a little biased, but I think the sport of softball is the best sport. And I think you can learn a lot of life lessons through the sport, and learn a lot of life lessons through who you have on these Chalk Talks, because everybody has a story, like I said. And I think they're a great learning opportunity, great way for the girls to hear different perspectives and take it home and try it out.
Yeah, and I can't say too much more than that. I love it as well. The only thing that I would add, excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. The only thing I would add is for the coaches, if there's any coaches on here, keep learning, keep getting better. Even though I coached for 30 years, there's things that I still love to learn. Just in when we were down in Dallas for the national convention, I was talking to Craig Snyder about some hitting things. Always try to improve as a coach, and these chalk talks will help as well. I know last time I was in Michigan, I said a couple things to a couple of coaches about just where to stand in the batter's box. Just little bitty things that you keep learning, and hopefully chalk talks do that, especially for the young kids. Just get, like Katelyn said, different perspectives. It's great to just learn more about the game and about adversity and what life can throw at you. Because softball may not be your path, but you can still be a good steward of what you have in the future.
No, that's a good point. And we are a huge advocate for the, National Fast Pitch Coaches Association, and send all of our coaches for training. I think it's something that we need to do. It helps, the coaches learn and grow, and then it just enriches the players' experience, because there's so many coaches out there willing to share information with all of us, and that's what it's all about. We're all trying to get better and learn from one another. And yes, we steal some drills or whatever it might be, and we tweak it to work for us, but it's all for the kids at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, again, really appreciate both of your time and making this happen for us tonight. And we're looking forward to seeing you in July at the clinic, and we'll be in touch more talking about the details of that. And we want to make sure that we promote and get the ICANN Foundation information out as much as we can with anything that we're doing. So thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you all.
Yep. Have a nice night.
Yep. Have a good night. Be blessed.
Thank
Night.
you.
Thank you.
Have a great
Nice
night.
chat, Eric.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
night. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting.
Bye.
Yep. Thank you.